Hey everyone, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm Chris Lee Kennedy, and this is the show where we bring you the day's biggest movie news, and of course we give you insight into what it all means. Joining me, as always, is AMC Movie News Senior Editor, Mr. John Campia.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Good morning, Chris Lee.
Good morning, and we also have joining us Associate Editor, Miss Amy Rose Eisenbach.
Good morning, nice to see you.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm going to interrupt. I'm sorry. Hey, listen. Just a couple quick announcements before we get rolling on the show here. Want to make sure you know that Comic-Con is coming up, obviously, starting on July 17th. And we're doing a couple quick things. First of all, the Masters of the Web panel, where we get some of the best voices in online film punditry to come together for a panel. This year, Lionsgate's film, You're Next, being described as one of the best horror films in years, is going to be a part of our panel as well. That's going to be Thursday morning at 11:30 in 24 ABC at Comic-Con. Make sure you join us there for that. I'm, of course, hosting. The whole movie crew will be there. Also, Thursday night, we are having an AMC Movie News meet and greet at the Omni Hotel bar on the first floor. That's going to be at 7 p.m. It's right across from the convention center. So me, Chris Lee, Amy Rose, Dennis, Jimmy O, John Schnepp, Gray Drake, Clark Wolf, we're all going to be there. So come on down and meet us. That's going to be the Thursday, July 18th at 7 p.m. in the bar at the Omni Hotel. So come on down and meet us.
Come toast a drink with us.
Yes.
So excited to meet everyone. All right, let's get started. The new Superman film, Man of Steel, is playing now in AMC theaters everywhere and is still John's favorite movie of the year so far.
Yep.
The success of the film has created a lot of conversation about the future of Justice League, which whispers of a possible 2015 release. Recently, Superman himself, Henry Cavill, talked about the problems in trying to bring a Justice League to the big screen. Cavill had this to say: "Justice League, more movies? I have no idea. Justice League could be great if done correctly. It's a very tough one to do because the DC comic heroes are all godlike in their power. So in this real world setting we're telling our story in, it's going to be tough to achieve that, and it has to be done very delicately with a lot of thought. So it won't be right away. I hope it's not anyway. It may take some time of build-up of other movies and other characters and introducing them together in one way or another. I think it would be great to do, but I don't think it's around the corner." John, what do you make of Cavill's comments?
Very astute, actually. He's quite correct. Now, all of us are excited. We heard whispers of a 2015 Justice League, and maybe that's true. Maybe that's what Warner Brothers is doing. But it is going to be tough. And this really does draw a distinction. Sometimes people accuse me of being a DC fanboy, and then other times other people accuse me of being a Marvel fanboy. I'm a movie fanboy. Just give me the good movies. I don't care who gives it to me. This does really bring up the distinction and the problem and the difference between potential DC movies and Marvel movies. Cavill points it out perfectly. When you're dealing with these DC characters, they are all godlike. You're talking about Superman, who's of course the king of them all. But then really, Green Lantern is a godlike character in the scope of his power. Captain Marvel, Shazam, godlike in his power. Martian Manhunter, godlike in his power. Wonder Woman has been elevated a lot in the last couple of decades, godlike in her power. The Flash, I mean, you're talking about a lot of these guys, like, yeah, for every once in a while you get a Green Arrow, sure. But then you look at the Avengers. Well, any of those DC characters I just pointed out could wipe the floor with anybody in the Avengers, aside from maybe Thor and Hulk, could wipe them all out without a second thought. Green Lantern against Hawkeye? Green Lantern against Iron Man? I'm sorry, it's no contest. And that does create some problems for how do you tell a story with all these completely unrelatable characters. When I say unrelatable, I mean in terms of their scope of power to my mere humanity. Whereas with Iron Man, he's just a dude in a suit. When you're talking about Hawkeye, he's just a dude with mad skills. And so it makes it difficult. And of course, Marvel will then pepper in a Thor, God of Thunder, or a Incredible Hulk. But with DC, these characters are all basically gods. And how do you do that? How do you create this universe that is supposed to be our real world setting that they've tried to achieve with Man of Steel and achieved really well? But instead of just having one character like that, you've got 5 or 6 characters like that. It's difficult. And I can understand Warner Brothers being apprehensive, being cautious, because you can really screw this up very easily. It can be screwed up very easily. This isn't one of those films that would just be easy to do, like it would just write itself. This is a difficult one to do to make it relatable. And I think Henry Cavill has really put a very fine point on it and has expressed the situation perfectly. It's difficult. They've got to take their time. I still want it, and I want it now, but I can get this is a hard one to pull off. But you pull it off, and it'll be epic. So I don't know, Amy Rose, what do you think of Cavill's comments? How do you see this?
Yeah, Arrow and Hawkeye would be a better mashup. I think that it was a very eloquent way of making a very valid point of how we all feel. We want this property to come to life. And I think that, you know, in an effort to really make this universe feel so grounded, we need people like Snyder and Nolan. I mean, look at the Dark Knight trilogy, look at Man of Steel. These are larger than life, amazing superheroes in a world that feels very realistic and grounded. And I feel like if they set the way, you know, the pavement forward for the DC universe, that we would have a hope. I would like them to take their time. I rather them not rush, because this is, as Cavill so brilliantly stated, a very delicate property to bring to life, because there's a lot of pressure and a lot of amazing superheroes that would share screen time if they do it the right way. Marvel's done a great job at introducing the characters slowly. Now we have a Man of Steel film that we're really proud of, Last Son in Krypton, what's up? And I would really like to see them continue that. I would like to see them introduce solo characters first to lead up to Justice League. I don't want them to just bam, churn out a Justice League. I want them to take the time and the effort and, you know, really make sure they get it right. So I do think Cavill has pretty much nailed it. I would really like to see him come back as Superman. I thought he did a fantastic job. We're not going to get Christian Bale. I know we'd all love that, but, you know, it'd be really interesting to really map out our dream lineup of these superheroes. But I do think he's onto something. I don't want them to rush it. I'd rather wait many more years. Of course, you know, I'm impatient like the rest of us, but at the same time, if they did it right, it's worth the wait. So I really hope they take time. And, you know, Man of Steel was a big success. Man of Steel 2 is on the way. I just hope we're continuously introduced to DC characters the way they're supposed to be introduced.
2 years seems really short to put together a Justice League like that. It looks like Liam Neeson continues to have a particular set of skills. Although Taken 2 met with mixed reaction from fans and critics, the film made over $375 million at the worldwide box office. With those numbers in mind, it has been confirmed that Taken 3 is indeed on the way, and Liam Neeson has officially signed on for it. Talks are reportedly ongoing with his co-stars Maggie Grace and Famke Janssen to return to their roles as well. Amy Rose, are you surprised Neeson signed on for Taken 3?
I'm a little surprised, but I mean, if an actor doesn't like truckloads of money, then I guess he would not come back. I really like Liam Neeson. I think he's a believable badass, and he's a great actor, super charismatic. I loved the first Taken film. That completely took me by surprise. I thought it was suspenseful and beautifully shot, and the story, the characters, everything about it, it was a really good movie. I was really surprised how much I enjoyed it. Taken 2, I feel like had the Hangover 2 syndrome. Basically, they just tried to exact the same story from the first. Oh no, someone else was taken. Oh, like it didn't really work for me. I did like the whole beginning where it was like the revenge story, but I just feel like it fell flat. And if they came back with the Taken 3, which they are, and just kept it, you know, with the man with a particular set of skills in a different situation, maybe he's back doing what he does best, but not with this whole Taken revenge story, I think that I'd be interested in seeing it. But again, if they just try to exact the same science of the first two, I think you're going to continue losing fans. It will still probably make money because the first was so good. And, you know, a trilogy, wrapping it back up, that said something about it. But yeah, I just hope that they reinvent the storyline a little bit, because I do love his character. And Famke Janssen, Jean Grey, I mean, you had me at hello. So, yeah.
You know, I'm a little surprised he's coming back, because he said after the first one, yeah, no, you can't do a sequel to this movie. It's all done. And then he did a sequel. So, and after he did the sequel, he said, yeah, I don't think we'll ever do a third, because we really know it. And here comes a third. So I am a little surprised they're doing it. And, you know, I am like most people. I was not really happy with Taken 2. But then I think I brought this up on the show once before. A friend of mine suggested to me, it's like, you know, look at Taken 2 as if it's just the second part of Taken 1. Think of it as a 4-hour movie. No. And so a couple of months back, I actually did that. I popped on Netflix and I got a disc and I watched Taken and Taken 2 back to back and tried to wire my head as if they were one movie. And you know what? suddenly Taken 2 worked because I just saw it as one movie and it didn't feel like they were repeating. It just felt like the natural. It felt like I was in a movie theater in olden days and they had a 5-minute intermission and I went out and got some popcorn, came back, and they continued the movie with Taken 2. And as one continuous movie, it actually made a lot of sense. They've already said that Taken 3 will be a departure from how they've done the first 2 Taken films. I don't think anybody's going to be taken in Taken 3. They're going to go, but this is like comedies. Remember, you know how sometimes they say, hey, you don't need to have a good story to continue. I just want to revisit these funny characters and hang out with them again. I feel the same way about Liam Neeson's character in Taken. I just want to hang out with this badass again for another hour and a half, 2 hours. So I'm excited they're doing it. I'm excited that they're going to do a different formula than the one they had for the first 2. But yeah, I count me as surprised that that he's coming back, because he sounded pretty certain that he wasn't. All right, folks, listen, it's time for that part of the show called Buy and Sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Chris Lee has a bunch of other items in the world of movie news. She's going to list them off, and Amy Rose and I are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Chris Lee, what do we got?
It's being reported that Warner Brothers is bringing the adventures of Encyclopedia Brown to the big screen. Leroy Brown, nicknamed Encyclopedia for his tremendous intellect, is the son of the police chief of small-town Idaville who solves cases with his friends for 25 cents per day plus expenses. The subject of dozens of books, each containing 10 short stories, Encyclopedia Brown has previously been adapted as both a comic strip and an HBO television series in the late 1980s. Amy Rose, buy or sell Encyclopedia Brown coming to the big screen?
I remember these books, super charming. It's like the Nancy Drew for men or women that enjoy them as well. And I think it's a really cute concept, and it will be fun on the big screen.
I'm going to buy this shoe. I think smart movies aimed at kids. It sounds a little bit like, I'm Canadian, so I didn't grow up reading these books. I grew up reading Mr. Muggs, represent. But anything, this sounds a little bit like Hardy Boys, a little bit like Tintin too.
Hardy Boys.
Sounds a little bit like Tintin to me. I think this is great. It sounds wonderful to me, even though I'm not familiar with it. Sounds great, so for me it's a buy.
Leroy Brown was fun growing up, so it'll be a great movie.
Encyclopedia.
Marvel Studios is all set for 2015, giving us 2 films, with The Avengers 2 hitting AMC theaters on May 1st, and then Ant-Man dropping on November 6th. Now Marvel has announced 3 new release dates, except they're not telling us what movies those dates are for. In 2016, Marvel will have a film on May 6th and one just 2 months later on June 8th. Then a third film will be in 2017 on May 5th. John, buy or sell Marvel giving us these release dates?
Sell. Look, we know you're going to have basically 2 movies a year. We know you have movies coming out. What? You're going to have more movies after Avengers 2? What? Of course we knew that. So why tell us the dates? And if you're not going to tell us what the movies are for. The one thing I'll say is interesting in this is that they do have a movie coming out in 2016 on May 6th and then one on June 8th. That's really short. So I got to assume those 2 movies are going to be pretty closely connected. So that's interesting. But if you're going to give us the dates, give us the name of the movies, for heaven's sakes. What's the big secret? For me, it's a sell.
I'm going to buy because I love the mystery. And Kevin Feige also... The mystery. Kevin Feige also discussed, the different titles in their pipeline that they plan on making. So, I would be a little worried about the rush, but it's several years from now. 2016, 2017, I think that's plenty of time to get the quality elements intact, and I love me some good Marvel films, so let's do it. But yes, I do want to know the titles, but I think that's far enough where they're planning it out right.
Blindly buying Marvel. Blindly.
Not blindly. Not blindly. Kevin Feige discussed on the pipeline. I think we have a pretty good idea what these could be.
As most of you will remember, Dumb and Dumber 2, the sequel to the comedy classic, was recently dropped by Warner Brothers and then quickly picked up by Universal. Looks like the film just moved one step closer to reality, as Australian electronic duo Empire of the Sun will be providing their first ever feature film score for the Farrelly Brothers. Much anticipated sequel. Amy Rose, buy or sell Empire of the Sun doing the score for Dumb and Dumber 2?
Buy. Fantastic. Empire of the Sun is great. Their new album's great. And I think that just shows, Harry and Lloyd's adventure is going to be grounded in present day. So I'm really excited that Universal picked this up and it's in motion.
Sell. This ain't Tron, and I got to admit,
Daft Punk.
I got to admit, I'm not a big fan of their music either. And to be quite frank, everybody knows I'm a very nonviolent person, and I would never do this. But there are some people, even people that you like sometimes, they just have a face or something about them that I want to punch you in the face.
Jeez.
And when I look at Empire of the Sun, they just look like 2 douchebags that I just want to punch in the face. All that being said, who knows? Maybe I'd meet them and I think they're the coolest guys in the world and we'd want to hang out all the time. But there'd still be a little part of me that would want to punch them in the face for some inexplicable reason. Yeah, this to me doesn't sound like a fit. For me, it's a sell.
My goodness.
A brand new trailer for the upcoming film Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters has just hit the web, opening in AMC theaters everywhere on August 7th. Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters continues the young demigod's epic journey to fulfill his destiny. To save their world, Percy and his friends must find the fabled and magical Golden Fleece, embarking on a treacherous odyssey into the uncharted waters of the Sea of Monsters, known to humans as the Bermuda Triangle. They battle terrifying creatures, an army of zombies, and the ultimate evil. John, buy or sell this new trailer?
I'm gonna have to sell it. Like but take that with a grain of salt. I also did not like the trailers at all for the first Percy Jackson movie, and I actually found it kind of charming. I actually ended up kind of liking the movie. So it's really no surprise that I'm not liking the trailers of this one so far either, but I'm gonna be there to see it opening day, and hopefully the same thing will happen and I'll end up liking the movie anyway. Amy Rose?
Yeah, I'm also going to sell it, but it was hesitant because there were elements that were really cool, almost Harry Potter-like in some of it. It was very magical, but then there were also elements that were just super cheeseball and over the top. But I love Logan Lerman. I think he's a really great actor. Yeah. Perks of Being a Wallflower. So yeah, I think that it could still be a fun ride, but we know what to expect, and the trailers are definitely not hooking me yet.
All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show for Mailbag. If you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Every day we take a couple questions out of the mailbag. We also have a new show called AMC Mailbag that we do on the weekends, where all we do is take mailbag questions. On this show, we take a couple of them. Chris Lee's got a few of them pulled out of the mailbag. So, Chris Lee, what do we got?
Andrew Ortiz writes, love the show. You guys are great. Now to my question. Now that Arnold Schwarzenegger is back, we would most likely see him in a lot of remakes of movies he's done in the past, like A Last Action Hero, Predator, True Lies, and forgive me, John, but The Sixth Day?
I don't think we'll see Arnold in any remakes. I mean, if we did... Actually, you know what? Let me put this out there. I don't think it'll happen. But if they were to do a Predator remake, obviously Arnold cannot come back and being the starring role again. But to have him in a role in the remake might be interesting. But I just don't think that's going to happen. I think we'll see him maybe a sequel. But even then, I don't think that'll happen. That's very likely. So we'll probably see him in a Conan film. We might see him pop up in the Terminator film. He keeps saying he's going to, but who knows? Maybe he will. But we're never going to see him in remakes, I don't believe, of these films. Yeah, that's the way I see it for now. Amy Rose, do you have any kind of different take on it?
Yeah, I wouldn't like to see remakes of these films. True Lies is such an amazing movie. And, so amazing. And, I would be interested in seeing a sequel, but I don't want them to remake the material. But, maybe he gets called in and another Simon and him, Jamie Lee Curtis are back together.
And you got to get Roseanne's ex-husband.
Tom Arnold.
Yeah, Tom Arnold. The only thing he's ever been good in.
He was so good
Only thing he's been good at, but he was awesome.
He was amazing. And Last Action Hero, F. Murray Abraham, I mean, that was another classic. But my stance on remakes. I'm not a big fan. Sure, it doesn't hurt the original, but unless you're going to bring something new and exciting for this generation, don't do it. But a sequel, reintroducing us to those characters, if you do it right, I might be into it. So we'll see what happens. But I do think he's coming back for Terminator, and Conan's a given.
Craig Conway writes, hi guys, been watching the show for a few months, and I love you all. Anyway, my question is about The Matrix. It was rumored a while back that a new Matrix film might be soon in production, with Keanu Reeves reportedly saying that they were in talks with James Cameron about how to master the then new 3D technology. Then all rumors stopped. Have you heard anything about the future Matrix titles? Do you think that it would be a good idea to go back into The Matrix, and if so, how would you do it?
It's an interesting question, but just a little bit of clarification. The incident that you're referring to, I believe, was first reported on Ain't It Cool News about two and a half years ago. Basically, the story was that Keanu Reeves was doing a Q&A at this, I believe it was a French art school of performing arts. And in it, he said, he goes, I want to bring back these characters. I think we owe it to the audience. The Wachowskis and I have been talking, and the Wachowskis have been talking with James Cameron about maybe using some of his technology, blah, blah, blah. That's what this is all based on. Both representatives from the school and for Keanu Reeves denied that Q&A session ever happened. It's not that he didn't just. It's not just that he didn't say it. It's that Q&A never happened. We never had that Q&A. So that was a false report fed to Ain't It Cool, unfortunately. So that's just not true. Now that being out of the way, well, okay, so maybe that didn't happen. But what about a Matrix 4? I've kind of mentioned this before. I'm all for sequels. I don't believe you necessarily have to have an immediate tie-in for something in the future at the end of a movie to necessarily have a sequel. But Matrix 3, spoiler alert, by the way, if you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it by now, you're not going to see it, let's be honest. Matrix 3 pretty much put a big old fat period on the end of it. Neo's dead. Trinity's dead. The war is over. The sun is now rising and everybody's happy and everything's good. There's nowhere left to go. It's not just that, like at the end of the first Matrix, you could have ended the Matrix at the end of the first one, but you could make an argument, hey, there's a lot of open threads that you could... There's nowhere to go. There's nothing left to do. And I think the novelty of the Matrix is now worn off. I think we underestimate that a little bit. So while I loved the first Matrix, I'm one of the few who actually really liked the second one. I kind of hated the third, but there's just nowhere left to go. Amy Rose?
I don't think this should be open. The first one was amazing. And, Keanu Reeves is not the best actor, but he worked as Neo. He was so good in that stiff delivery, and Lawrence Fishburne was amazing.
And the award for biggest understatement of the year goes to...
He's not a good actor, but I think it really, really worked in The Matrix, and just the whole concept was really good and deep. It was a very deep philosophical concept. But yeah, the Smith showdown in the third, oh goodness, that was bad. That was really bad. So yeah, I was not a fan of how they ended it, but the first one's still a really, really amazing film, and I actually recently rewatched it, and it holds up today. So
it really does.
But I don't think they should continue down the path we're done.
And I think with Keanu Reeves, when you're talking about The Matrix, that is one of those great situations where it's like you found the perfect fit for this guy. Nobody, it's stupid to say nobody, but very few people could have played Neo the right way like Keanu Reeves played it. I mean, that was lightning in a bottle right there, and he was great for that role. So absolutely. I don't want to sound like I'm slamming on the dude too much, because he was great in that.
Zach Z writes, "Sup guys, you're my main source of movie news, period. Love you guys, but I'm a little peeved. Where has your curiosity for Star Wars gone? News about leaked casting sheet went out days ago without a peep from you guys. News about Jonathan Rhys-Meyers being in episode 7 came out weeks ago. Again, nothing from you guys. What's the deal? I thought you guys were hardcore SW fans, man. Speculate, please."
To call me a hardcore Star Wars fan would defeat the understatement of the year award going about Keanu Reeves. That's an understatement. Okay, but here's the thing too. I also got to be very careful when we're picking which stories we're going to address on AMC Movie Talk. We got to be really, really careful about nonsense, about stuff that's just obviously not true at all. Like, you're talking about one particular casting sheet that went out that has not been confirmed by anybody. And what's in that casting sheet? Hey, we're looking for a guy, and we're looking for a girl, and we're looking for another guy, and then we're looking for an older guy, and then we're like, okay, where's the story in that? There's nothing there to talk about, and I even doubt the validity of it. Just 2 days before that, there was another big story going all over the news sites about a casting sheet that actually described the characters that people would be playing. And tons of news sites ran with it. Some of the smarter ones didn't. But the minute I looked at that tip sheet or that casting sheet, I realized this is fake. This thing is so fake. So obviously I'm not going to run with it. Now, with the Jonathan Rhys-Meyers story, that's not a story. That's a rumor going around. And unfortunately, it's a rumor that when I researched it, I found the origin of the rumor came from a source that I don't necessarily trust anymore. And so I decided, you know what, I'm just not going to run with this, because I've run with stories from this particular source before and then found out they were wrong and kind of look stupid in the process. So it's realizing, even though this source is often right, it turns out lately they've often been wrong. So I decided when I looked at it, it's like, until somebody from Lucasfilm or somebody from Disney or somebody from J.J. Abrams' camp, until somebody official says, yeah, this is real, then I can't make the assumption that it's real, simply based that I don't necessarily trust the source. So even though I'm a massive Star Wars fan, and you will see Star Wars all over everything on AMC Movie Talk quite a bit, I still got to be careful. I want to be cautious about what we talk about on here if I highly suspect it's bull, and if I highly suspect that it may not be true. Now, Jonathan Rhys-Meyers might end up being casted, and that would be great. But then I'll have a lot of fun talking about it when it's officially announced that he's actually doing it. Amy Rose, should we be talking more about these rumors even if we suspect they're not true?
No, and I think that's definitely what separates, how we just discuss news and digest news than a lot of other sites. Speculation runs wild. People want answers, and they do whatever they can to make them valid, even if they're not. I mean, look what just happened with Mary Jane and Sarah and Shailene Woodley. Everyone's like, oh, it's been confirmed. She is replacing her. No, it has not been confirmed. Until you hear that from Sony or from the director or from the actress themselves, it's not confirmed. And, you know, I think we can talk about speculation, say, you know, we've heard that she might be up for this, but we've also heard about that. I think presenting both sides of the coin is very important, but to say it's hard facts until it's actually hard facts is really, it's losing your credibility, and we're very, very careful about that.
Yeah, and there are times that Amy Rose, you and I will talk about some issues that come up that are rumor, but if it looks like they're coming from some credible sources, and there's a possibility, and then when we're talking about, I'm always very, very careful to say, now, if this is true and we don't know that it's true, then it could mean this, this, and this, and this. But in a case like this, where it's coming from a source that I'm kind of dubious about the source, and I doubt that there's validity to it. And I could be wrong, but if I doubt there's validity to it, then I think it'd be irresponsible of us to talk about it.
And I think, you know, like yesterday, my article in Jurassic Park 4, I said, if this synopsis is true, would you like it? Because until it's 100% confirmed by the studio and all the people actually involved with the project itself, it's not worth, you know, it's worth talking about maybe, and, you know, saying, oh, Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, he's a fantastic actor. I think maybe he'd be a great addition here. But until it's fact, you know, we're not doing our job correctly if we're displaying it as credible and valid until it's finally confirmed. So that's why, but we love Star Wars. Can't wait to see how it unfolds. But we have been a little quiet on the Star Wars front for a minute.
We addressed it a lot on the mailbag actually this weekend. We had a big Star Wars topic.
We had a couple hot weeks there for a minute, but
yes, we did.
I want some Star Wars news, so let's get some real deal news coming.
No gossip.
Exactly.
All right, folks, listen, that's it for us. We've run out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. And listen, while I've got you, before you do anything else, take a second and click that subscribe button. Become a subscriber to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It'll keep you up to date on everything going on in the world of movie news, and of course, our daily AMC Movie Talk show and our weekend AMC Mailbag show. If you want to follow this show and everything that we do at AMC on Twitter, follow us at twitter.com/AMC Theaters. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/AMC Theaters. If you want an audio-only version of this episode, look in the description of this video, and you'll find links to our iTunes and our Stitcher Radio, so you can listen to us on the way to work. Also, look on down in the description, and you'll find a link to our Facebook page for our Masters of the Web event coming up at Comic-Con that I was telling you about. There'll be a little bit more information in there, as well as some information about our AMC Movie Talk meet and greet at Comic-Con, which we're so excited about. I want to thank, as always, our very lovely host, Miss Chrisley Kennedy. Chrisley, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Chrisley. Thanks for all your tweets.
And, of course, our associate editor of movie news here at AMC, Miss Amy Rose Eisenbach. Amy Rose, where can people find you?
Twitter at Amy Rosie, AMIROSIE. And I want to share something real quick. I'm really excited for all you Breaking Bad fans out there. I get to interview Aaron Paul tomorrow. So I'm really excited, and I can't wait for the season to wrap up.
And what are you interviewing him for?
For Need for Speed.
He's in an upcoming movie, Need for Speed.
That's right.
You're flying down to Detroit.
Detroit. What's up? Never been there. Should be an adventure.
And of course, you can find me on Twitter at John Caber, on Facebook at John Caber, wherever at John Caber. Very, very creative in my titling, obviously. So thanks a lot for joining us, folks. My name is John Caber for AMC Movie News, and until next time, bye-bye.